There we go now. It's funny because I just said that I participated of every edition of React Miami, and this is, I mean, it's not my first time here, but this is still happening so well. This was the guy that I introduced before, Lionel Messi. And the joke was that I was the only person that presented the talk at each edition of React Miami. So that's what I want to think that I'm like him, you know, a little bit, just a little bit. Maybe you are seeing all the different thumbnails there and you are thinking like, this guy doesn't have any other profile picture, like always using the same one, and I look like my son on that picture. You know, I should update it. Probably, if there's anyone taking pictures, I would love if you can get one from me so I can update it. So, I arrived to Miami, I needed to do some work, and I was thinking, where can I get the best coffee to sit down there with Wi-Fi in downtown Miami to do that? How do I get that information, or how do I know that, let's say? So there was like a shift on how to get that information with the years. And I imagine that you will agree with me, but at a certain point, if you are old as I am, you probably remember that web pages, at a certain point, they used to be HTML pages with static content there. People was like defining the content, writing the content, like you had it there, everything. After that, we started having programming languages and frameworks like React that help us to create dynamic applications where the content can be updated live, let's say. But now we are seeing another shift, which is intelligent interfaces, right? I mean, if I want to get an information like the previous slide, I would probably go to an AI interface like a chat interface or something like that to get that information. And we are seeing that change on the behavior of the people. I mean, with the years, with the months, it's changing and it's going towards on that direction, right? So the thing is, users are interacting with answers instead of pages, or that's what we are seeing. So the people, they want outcomes instead of navigating pages. They want that the AI interface is dropping the expected answer without having to go through different links or without having to research or evaluate different pages or everything. And at the end of the day, our React applications are becoming the delivery layer for these intelligent answers, let's say. So in order to do all of that, and what we are seeing and evaluating is that the content is not only for humans. I mean, we have to create and manage the content thinking that this content will be used by people, but also by the AI engines, the LLMs, and the machines at the end of the day, right? So to make the machines happy, because I'm not sure if you watch Terminator, the movie, but that's becoming real, so you have to make friends with the machines if you want to survive, but that's a different topic for another moment. We have to make the work easier for the machines, let's say, to understand the content that we are creating and managing in order for that content to appear on these intelligent answers or responses that we are expecting. So to do that, we have to structure our content. Because the content that we create while we are rendering HTML content, the thing is, what the AI engines are expecting is structured content. They don't want to go through a full HTML document, finding where is the information that is needed or what's important or what's not. We need to help the machines to understand that. We need to help the machines, what's the crucial information that they need to get from our pages, right? So in order to do that, we have to structure the content differently and not rely only on rendering HTML. So for instance, if I have a page, I shouldn't think on the page as one, right? I mean, I should think on what I'm displaying on the page and what does it mean. So I have a page where I'm displaying, let's say, the information related to a coffee with Wi-Fi in downtown Miami. But I have to think that page as a title with the description of what I'm trying to communicate, the location of the coffee store, the reviews, different sections or different entities, probably any way or any category that we are using to group coffee shops and places like that, because that's going to be the information that we want the LLMs and the AI engines to use to deliver that content to the users that are using different interfaces, right? So we have to think on structures that have a semantic meaning, let's say. Not only how we are displaying the content, but how that content is organized, how that content is grouped, how that content is delivered. So what the AI engines are going to do is to understand or try to understand the meaning of the content that we are sharing, and not only the HTML or what we are actually rendering on our pages. So what you see on the screen could be an example on how a semantic structure could be, right? I mean, what we are creating here is using JSON, an object that is representing all the information related to a particular coffee shop in Miami, right? So we have the information that we want to manage for this kind of entities or places, let's say, and organize in a way where we are using the proper data type for the different items and topics. And this is what will make it easier for us to deliver to the AI engines in order to communicate what we want to highlight, right? So I wanted to introduce, I'm not sure if you are familiar with the concept of headless content management system. Probably you are using one already at work. But a headless content management system or a CMS can be a tool that can help with this purpose. Because these headless CMSs are platforms that store the content in a structured way and reusable way, but they are also giving a tool to the people to create and manage the content easier, right? Because you don't want to be editing JSON files all the time, and you want a friendly user interface to create and manage the content, but on the other hand, that content that you are creating to be stored in a structured way, but also expose that content through APIs that can be used in different ways. So those structures can be used for rendering a web page, let's say, but you can also use that same information for a mobile application, a desktop application, or an AI system, right? So how can these headless CMSs help? I wanted to show you, I see if I share my screen properly, and here we go. So what you see on the screen is, this is a Storyblock. Storyblock is a headless content management system, as I said before. I'm using Storyblock as an example to show you the concept, but what you see on the screen is a visual editor. At the end of the day, we are creating content that is using for a certain page. We are rendering that content on the page, and that content is organized in sections on the web page, as we can see. But if we see on the right-hand side of the screen, we see different sections or components, the hero section, the text section, a banner reference. Each one of these components is referencing to a certain content structure that is storing information related to each one of these components. And not only that, each one of these components will help us to be referenced in multiple places of our website. So for instance, this banner that I have here, it's a reference to another content structure that it's a banner, and that I can reuse in multiple pages of my website. So this is visually a web page that we are creating and editing. On the other hand, Storyblock is, what Storyblock is managing on the background is a JSON structure that represents all the content that we are creating for these different components and these different pages. So if you connect to, in this case, a Storyblock API, but if you any headless content management system API, you can retrieve the content in an organized way and structured way that can help you to be reused for multiple purposes, and that you can use, again, not only for the pages that you are creating and managing, but also for ingesting in AI systems and LLMs, let's say. So, well, sorry, I wanted to show you a quick example, but, oops. Once you created and manage that content and you organize that content in the best way possible, the recommendation is that you use standard formats to deliver that content, to make it, again, even easier for the AI systems to understand it, but also to have a certain standard with the industry. Schema.org, I'm not sure if you are familiar with it, but it's an initiative to create like a general vocabulary of standard types. The idea behind this initiative is to have a common language on the different entities that we are managing on the content that we create and on the web pages and websites that we are creating, in order to make it, again, easier to discover, easy to understand for developers, for the renderers, for the search engines, and for the AI engines too, right? So if you go to schema.org, you will see that you have a list of entities that you can use. And ideally, you can adapt the content structures that you are creating and managing for your project to follow these standards that are being described in schema.org. So as you can see on the example, there's an entity for a cafe or coffee shop where we are managing certain information that at the end of the day, it's common to any coffee shop, right? So if you adapt the content structures of your project to a standard, it will make it easier for AI systems to understand and to connect to other systems and create a whole ecosystem where the content that you create is being understood, let's say, by the other parts of that technology ecosystem. The schema.org initiative, let's say, or standard can be applied using JSON linked data or LD. I'm not sure if you are familiar with this, but and you can also go to that URL to understand a little bit more. But at the end of the day, JSON LD is something that you can use to represent these entities or these standard entities or vocabulary using JSON notation, which is something standard in the industry. And it's going to make the work easier for, again, the machine to read that content that you are creating and that you are delivering, right? So if you see an example, a JSON LD entity will look something like this. And at the end of the day, what we are doing is, again, exposing the information for the content entities that we are creating and managing as part of our system and the website that we are creating. If you go to the website, you can also see that there are different SDKs for different programming languages and technologies to make it easier to generate this JSON LD notation for the different entities that you are managing on your web pages. So for instance, you have an SDK that helps you, if you're using JavaScript, let's say, you can automatically generate the JSON LD notation for certain objects that you are managing on your code. But yeah, I mean, again, it's a way of coming up with a common language that is used across the industry. And this is part of a bigger group of practices, let's say, that nowadays people is talking about, which is the generative engine optimization, which at the end of the day are practices or ideas or tools that we try to implement to make the content usable for AI systems, right? So probably if you've been a front-end developer for some time, you are familiar with SEO, which is a set of practices to make the content that we are creating discoverable by search engines like Google, let's say. Well, GEO, or generative engine optimization, is to make that content usable for these generative engines, right? So it's follow a certain list of recommendations on how we are structuring the content that we are creating and delivering in order to make it easier to the AI systems to understand that content and use that content, right? So some of them we already mentioned before are like creating smaller chunks of content or components. These components should have clear metadata or a semantic meaning, let's say, of what they represent. Relationship between these components, so connect components and reuse them across your whole website. Fresh content, I mean the content being updated frequently. Sources and citations, like saying where that content is being created or where is it coming from. Those are a list of ideas that we should follow to make our content easier to be discovered and used by the AI systems. Another standard is the LLMs.txt file that you can create for your website, which is basically an analog of the robots file that you can create for a website, but for the AI system. So you can create this LLMs.txt, sorry. The coffee break is almost there, for me too. The idea is that you can create a file to make it easier for the AIs that are analyzing your website and your content and identify where these AI engines should focus to get the information that you actually want to highlight from your website, right? You have a website about the initiative where you can learn more about that, but essentially is a markdown file where you can highlight, again, the hierarchy of the content that you are creating, how that content is relating to other pieces of content from your same website or from another website, what are the top articles that you want to highlight from your website, etc. I encourage you to go to the website of LLMs and read more about that. But essentially what we are doing is, again, creating a file to drive the AI systems and the machines, let's say, to the content that we actually want to highlight. So to compare what SEO and GEO is, let's say, or to make some differences, with SEO, what we are trying to do is like optimizing the HTML that we are rendering for our pages, but with GEO, what we should try to do, let's say, is to build and expose data in a structured way, right? We mentioned JSON LD, using APIs to deliver that content. So essentially, we should be taking care of both, right? I mean, the SEO and the GEO. The same with keywords. I mean, I'm pretty sure that you're familiar with canonical URLs and different meta tags that you are using for pages that you create. We should expose similar information, but in a different format to make it easier for the AI engines to understand and to read the content that we are exposing on our websites and projects. Finally, I wanted to quickly mention another format, let's say, or another, how to say, a pattern that you can use to create your project, which is retrieval augmented generation, which basically would be creating a layer of content retrieval that is capturing data and content from our projects and use all that content to be injected, let's say, on the query that we are doing to LLMs to generate a more enriched response of what we are trying to deliver to the users, right? So it's like adding an additional step, let's say, before hitting an LLM engine, where we are creating context for the query or the request that we are doing to be more accurate or more targeted to a specific topic or a specific theme that we are trying to communicate, let's say. So basically what we are trying to do is to give a richer context to the query that we are doing to return a more accurate answer to the users. I wanted to share this diagram as an example. I won't go through every part of the image, but it's kind of mentioning all the different contexts, the different items that we mentioned before, like the content being a structure, JSON LD being used to display or to, how to say, to represent the content in a standard way. Also the content that is being created and managed using CMSs or article or blogs or even databases, let's say. And creating like this intermediate layer, which can be a Next.js application that is querying that content, and with that content creating the context that we are going to use to hit our LLM provider to have, again, a richer or a more accurate answer that we can then deliver to the users that are visiting our website. So with RAG, we have to be careful, let's say, again, on how we structure the content, because if the content is not structured, then this retrieval will fail. If the structures that we are creating don't have a semantic meaning, let's say, the matching that the intermediate layer will make is going to be poor. And if the data is not organized, is messy, well, the answers that we are going to deliver to the users won't be accurate, right? So it's, again, thinking on how we are structuring, managing, and delivering our content. So some final remarks. The content should be structured and meaningful. I mean, we should create meaningful structures and semantic structures. We should use standards like schema.org or JSON LD to have a common understanding with the industry, with the market, with other developers. We should follow GEO practices to ensure that the content is going to be usable by these AI systems. And at the end of the day, whenever it's possible, we should implement RAG systems to create this context for the request to have more reliable answers, let's say. And at the end of the day, I mean, the last idea that we have to keep in mind is that the web or the experience that we are offering to the users is shifting from a page navigation to a knowledge-driven experiences, right? So we have to We have to be more conscious about how we are creating, managing, and distributing the content that we want to deliver as part of our experiences. So thank you very much. Muchas gracias.